All right. A couple of personnel appointments. Today, the Secretary General is appointing Daniela Kroslak of Germany as his new Deputy Special Representative for the UN Peacekeeping Mission in Mali, otherwise known as MINUSMA. Ms. Kroslak succeeds Joanne Adamson of the United Kingdom, who recently completed her assignment, to whom the Secretary General is grateful for her important contribution to the work of the mission. Since January 2020, Ms. Kroslak served as deputy head of the UN mission to support Hudaydah Agreement in Yemen. Prior to her deployment to Yemen, she was the chief of staff to the UN mission for justice support in Haiti. Lots more on her bio on her bio online. Also, an update from Haiti. Mourad Waba of Egypt has been appointed by the Secretary General as the independent expert to lead the assessment mission of the mandate of the UN mission in Haiti, known as BINU. This was following the request by the Security Council in Resolution 2600. He will travel to Haiti soon to meet with interlocutors and report back as requested. Moving to Afghanistan, the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs and the UN Refugee Agency today announced that on Tuesday, January 11th at 11:30 a.m. in Geneva, 2 humanitarian appeals will be launched, one for Afghanistan and the other for the wider region. According to our humanitarian colleagues, and UNHCR, more than half of the Afghan population is in need of humanitarian assistance, and the crisis has also driven many people into neighboring countries in waves over many years. The virtual event will be live streamed on UN Web TV. Martin Griffiths, the head of the Department of Humanitarian Affairs, and Filippo Grandi, the High Commissioner for Refugees, will chair and speak at the events, as well as the Asia Nansen Award winner, Salima Rehman, who is a doctor from Afghanistan. Also want to flag that ahead of the event, there'll be an embargoed hybrid press conference on Monday, January 10th at 3:30 p.m. Geneva time, in which Mr. Griffiths and Mr. Grandi will participate, and I think you will be given a link. Turning to Ethiopia, the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, Filippo Grandi, said he's deeply saddened by that 3 Eritrean refugees, 2 of them children, were killed on Wednesday in an airstrike that hit the Mai Aini refugee camp in northern Ethiopia. And in the Philippines, the World Food Program is warning that nutrition and food security are at risk in communities hit by the super typhoon Odette 3 weeks ago. Odette has made landfall 9 times over an area the size of Austria over 2 days and affected 7 million people. WFP requires an additional $25.8 million to provide food to 250,000 typhoon survivors, alongside emergency logistics and telecommunication support to the broader typhoon response. So far, it has received $4.7 million. That is, unfortunately, it for today. And Edie.
Thank you, Steph. A couple of questions. First, does the Secretary General have any comment on the order by the President of Kazakhstan to shoot to kill people he's calling terrorists who appear to be protesters?
Look, we're continuing to follow the situation in Kazakhstan and very closely, and again appeal to all involved to exercise restraint, refrain from violence, and use peaceful means to address the situation. I think it's important that there be a stop to the violence. People demonstrating should do so peacefully. The killing of police officers and others is unacceptable. The killing of demonstrators is as well. There is a need in any situation for a clear need to respect human rights and international standards while reestablishing public order. I think the issue of the use of live ammunition and and how public order is restored, I would also refer you to what the High Commissioner for Human Rights said yesterday on that.
And has the Secretary General tried to contact the President of Kazakhstan?
I have nothing for you on that. There have been contacts at other levels, including with Natalia German. James.
Yeah, I want to come back on the shoot-to-kill order specifically, because you didn't specifically address that. So does the Secretary-General believe that a shoot-to-kill order can ever be legally or morally acceptable?
Look, what I'm...
When it involves civilians?
No, I understand. What I'm saying to you is that there is a clear need to respect human rights and international standards when reestablishing public order.
So you've given us the context. Could you just answer the question? Is a shoot-to-kill order in any circumstances acceptable, yes or no?
I'm not going to, give a broad blanket event. I'm saying in situation there are established international standards, established human rights standards, and on that, I'll paraphrase, if not quote, what the High Commissioner for Human Rights said, which yesterday when she reminded the Kazakh authorities that force must be employed subject to strict requirements of necessity and proportionality. Lethal force, in particular live ammunition, should only be used as a last resort against specific individuals to address an imminent threat of death or serious injury.
So without warning, shoot-to-kill policy?
I've given you my answer. Okay. James Reinl. James?
Hi, thank you very much, Stéphane. It's a question about Libya. In the last couple of days, there have been reports that mercenaries have indeed been leaving the country, including a report from the French that 300 Chadians had exited. Does the UN mission over there is it able to confirm any of these departures? And what is the latest estimate on the number of mercenaries who remain in the country?
I have not. I'll ask our colleagues of the mission to give us an update, because I have not received one on that. Okay, Ray?
Thank you, Stéphane. It looks like the Secretary General has just met the Libyan permanent representative. Was there any outcome from this meeting?
Not that I'm aware of. I didn't, but I will check.
According to Tahir Sinni Twitter account.
Yeah, I will check.
Thank you.
Okay. Edie.
A couple of other questions. First, has there been any movement in terms of what's happening in Sudan? Contacts?
The Secretary General continues to be on the phone. He made a number of phone calls to high-level people today on Sudan. We may have a bit more of a statement later today, this afternoon, I hope.
And in Haiti, 2 journalists were killed and reportedly burned alive. Does the Secretary General have any comment on that?
We can, sometimes you run out of words, but I think we clearly condemn this horrific murder. It is very important that the national authorities do whatever they can to find the perpetrators and bring them to justice. Just yesterday, I was flagging to you UNESCO's report on the death of journalists in places where that are not at war. This is just one more example that journalists the world over face, and sadly, as we may expect, the impunity with which they are murdered for just trying to tell the truth. James.
You told us yesterday that the Secretary-General was involved in a great deal of phone diplomacy on Ethiopia. I know that the US outgoing Special Envoy, Mr. Feltman, is in the region as well. Are they making any progress?
Right now, the phone calls continue. Let me put it that way. Okay, let's see who's on the screen. Abdel Hamid.
Thank you, Stéphane. I have two questions on Libya and Western Sahara. I'll start with Western Sahara. Last Sunday, 3 citizens of Mauritania were killed in the buffer zone. We haven't heard anything from MINUSMA or the new briefing. We only hear about the violation of ceasefire line from news agencies, but not from the official channels of the United Nations. Can you please brief us about what's going on the buffer zone between Western Sahara, between the two parties?
I had not seen any reporting on that from in-house, but I will. We will pull the chain and see what comes down. Your second question?
And my second question, if you can update us on the Libyan efforts to conduct elections on the 24th of January. Is there any movement? Is anyone involved with that?
Miss Williams continues her work. I would refer you back to her tweet, I think earlier this week, where she talked about the parliamentary elections. Our efforts continue to help the Libyan Libyan institutions move forward on the elections that the Libyan people need, and we would hope that the international community speaks with one voice on that. Mr. Fazal, please. Mushfiqul, please.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Stéphane. I'm wondering if you have any update as the Bangladesh former army chief
I will
blame UN.
As soon as I have something, I will. Yeah. As soon as I have something, I will give it to you. I will be the first. If I have information, I hate to keep it, and I want to answer your questions. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all. I don't see or hear any other voices or questions. You are released. Evelyn, I apologize. Please go ahead, Evelyn. You can thank James for being your advocate here.
Okay, thank you, James. Thank you, Steph. On Ethiopia, one last question. Have a representation been made to the government since we're talking about an airstrike and only the Addis government has air power? So
we've had numerous conversations with the government at different levels about finding ways to end this violence and end this conflict. Thank you.
The airstrike specifically mentioned in that? No? All right. Goodbye.
I'll stick to my last answer. Thank you.